Hi, Misha here, and recently did a video on the DS Arms Cuban 5000, or at least later that would have been the name, model FAL, their replica. And at the end of that video, you saw me put a different set of handguards. And I've been wanting to kind of make a more appropriate gun. It's really good. We have what could easily pass and might even be an original Type B or T48 flash rider, complete with bayonet lug. We went over this before. Correct 21-inch barrel. As someone pointed out, this actually should be bipod cut, but ironically these do not have bipods, so take that for what you will. You know, I'm learning too. Keep in mind, guys, I can't see photos, so I knew they didn't have bipods. Kind of odd that they had bipod cut barrels, but no bipods. But the big deal that we all pointed out were the handguards. These could have wood or polymer, but they would not have had bipod cut. And then they would have had the short sights, and where DSA got it really well, the Type C stock with the ferrule, non-trapdoor butt plate, and the kind of markings on the lower here, both the selector and the kind of Cuban crest. Now, this is not the gun you saw in the first video. This is actually one that just came in right after Labor Day. And they've already made one change that really tickled me. In fact, when I opened up the box, I said, they fucking fixed it, which means they're trying and they're listening. And that is the carry handle. This is the right carry handle, so the same you'd see on an STG 58 and other, late 50s, early 60s FALs. These Cuban contracts were made maybe late 58, 59, 60, in that time period. That's why it still has the vertical takedown. The first run of these came with the kind of standard DS Arms handle, which is patterned after what you would have found in the 70s or 80s, with the pre-bands. Again, very easy part to replace. In fact, this came off the original. But, they got to put a carry handle on. Might as well use the right one. I don't know if this was an oversight or if they just didn't have this style. But either way, kudos. I appreciate those small details. Another small detail, and it keeps coming up in the comments, mags. These are shipping with 20-round steel DS Arms made mags. Now, metric mags, if you will. So yes, they are making them again. They had some issue with the tooling. But I brought this out because the one in the first video I've had a little bit of a project with. So I wanted to show you that. So before we bring it out, if you could, please do like, share, and subscribe. Check out the original video if you haven't already, just to kind of get more of a historical background. And if you'd like to help support us, check out Patreon. But with no further ado, aside from the carry handle, this is how my original rifle looked then, and this is how it looks now. Ta-da! I was hoping to have this ready so I could take it with on the Labor Day cabin trip, but it just wasn't. It was almost there, but I was waiting on a part or two. And it's not 100% there, but I think it looks and feels a lot closer. Now, I actually had a spare original handle that I put on. I left the cocking handle, charging handle knob, because by this point they would be going away from the alloy to the polymer anyway. And even if they were alloy, most of these were replaced in service with polymer. So, hey, no problem. The takedown, like I said, was correct. One thing I pointed out, it was a minor detail in the first video, the trigger guard. If you look on this one, you'll see it's your standard straight sheet steel bent and folded trigger guard. No big deal, but it's a later style. Since I just happen to have one, I put on a scalloped 50s, 60s style trigger guard. Again, I wouldn't have gone out and bought it for this, but I had it, so why not? And the same kind of goes for the pistol grip. A little scratch on this one. This is an original FN metric grip, and it's the earlier style without the notch for a cleaning kit inside. It's just hollow. Since I had this, I replaced the original. Again, the DSA version is fine. The bottom's a little more flared on this, but not by much. It doesn't have the notch for the cleaning kit, but it just has more of a matte finish, and it has these little mold marks here. They're a little off-putting, a tiny bit, so why not? Again, those parts I just had. Now you might be wondering about the sling. It's French. Yeah, this should probably just have your standard FN infield inspired sling, but I'm so tired of those, and they're always too short. This one fits the swivels just fine, and is a little bit longer, and just, you know, honestly, a couple of inches do help. And as you saw in the first video, I did move the swivel a little further back, and that helps just a little bit too. You get a little more girth there. So those are the major changes I made, aside from, of course, these here handguards. So this buttstock is the DSA's replica Type C wood stock, made in Turkey out of walnut. Very nice. Got the ferrule. It's got the correct butt plate. It's kind of Israeli style butt plate, but this is longer than your Israeli stock. It's more standard. The Israelis were slightly short. To go with it, these handguards, kind of the modified Canadian style, T48 style, what have you. These are replicas as well, but very nice quality. Also made out of hardwood. Vent holes. It's got the holes in the bottom. They actually fit with no fitting on the gun. I might be able to sink the screw just a little bit deeper, but it's in there. But I might be able to try to get it down just a little bit more, but I didn't want to stress them. They're solid. So yeah, the gentleman offered these to me, seeing the build, and took him up on it, because before I had those L1A1 handguards, the US plastic ones. They were better than the bipod cut ones, but not correct. These would be correct, this style. That or the early polymer non-bipod cut, like you see on, say, South African or an early Argentine. But most likely, the Cuban guns would have come with, at least the first batch, this wood handguard. And I gotta say, they fit on great, and yeah, really complete the look, in my opinion. It's the small details. Oh, and this is just a surplus mag I put in. Of course, it's on a Type 1 DSA receiver, Type 1 lower. It's your standard 7.62 NATO. Bolt hole open, of course, unlike, say, the British standard, FAL trigger. And like I said, the low sights and all that. I'm pretty well content with it, although I do have a couple of ideas. Let me know what you think. So, one part I might leave or replace is the top cover. This is, of course, the correct style, And this is a DSA one, but I do have an original, and I did test fit it. It fits fine. FN marked cover. My concern is really the fit and finish, which will look better, because no matter what, this is still a replica gun, not a parts kit gun. So there is kind of a point of no return. There's kind of diminishing returns, but I'm curious if putting an FN marked top cover on, it would matter, or if this one would look all right on it or not. In fact, we're kind of in the shade because we tried doing it out in the sun, but it was way too hot. It's funny, in the shade it's actually quite decent out, but in the sun this mat turned into boiling lava in about 10 seconds, and I was sweating like a pig. But let's just walk over there and cut away so you can kind of see the top covers side by side, and let me know what you think would look better. Would you put the FN one on, or just leave this one on? That probably matches finish better. Yeah. Comment below, please. The next is kind of a very similar thing. Keep in mind, repro handguards, right guys? And this is a repro buttstock. There's one thing about this that's noticeably not to the Cuban spec. The sling swivel rotates, and really this should just be a swivel only. Now I could go in there and kind of put something in there to keep it, because it already kind of sticks on the side. I could probably make it where it wouldn't rotate and keep this stock, and that's kind of the angle I was thinking of. But these handguards, the same gentleman had an original FN Type C stock with ferrule, no butt plate. In fact, this is unissued because the sling swivel doesn't even have the holes drilled. Few storage marks, few little things, but overall an excellent Type C stock. Is it worth putting this on? It would give me the correct swivel. I had to find the one, but it's not a big deal. It is really one to probably work in a pinch, no problem. And the butt plate from the other stock will fit right on here. I would have to, of course, drill it, and of course I would have to drill into an original stock. And if these were original handguards, no problem. But since they're repro, I'm kind of halfway feeling like just keeping the repro stock on here and saving the FN for maybe a build would be better. But I'm just not sure. And I'm also not sure how the colors match. And of course I can oil and do that a little bit, kind of. And wood never 100% matches anyway. But that said, let's go back out into the light and kind of compare wood like you do. So this is definitely a time when I wish I had 3 hands. So yeah, this is the stock from DS Arms, and these are the replica handguards. These are just a small maker. They have a bit of more of a matte texture. This is more oiled, but I mean, I could again put a light coat of oil, some kind of oil on these. Let me flip them over so you can see. This side. They feel like they're made out of walnut, both pieces, and should be. It's nice thick wood, doesn't feel flimsy at all. And of course, here is the Belgian stock. Sorry guys, like I said, I'm trying. See how that looks. And I'll flip it over. I mean, this would give the right swivel, and it would give an actual Belgian stock, but I'm hesitant to drill holes in this one when I've got a perfectly good stock already on it. I'm going to be honest, I'm leaning towards leaving this on. However, comment below, and if you think I should go ahead and put the FN stock on it, let me know. Jero pointed out that actually the stock on the second gun matches these handguards better. And, well, I mean, I guess I could swap stocks. I wasn't really planning on it, but, one for one if we needed to. Let me know what you think. I really like the kind of the grain pattern feel on this. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, that is kind of where we're at there. We'll probably get out and shoot this, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get this as a shooter. But I always wanted to have something with the Type B flash hider, T48 style if you prefer. It's kind of funny they call it that, because the T48 was just a trials gun, and wasn't really produced all that much. H&R made some, and High Standard made a tiny number, kind of a test run. The only nations that really did these, in any numbers of note, were South Africa. They had some, but it was a very quick little transition for them. And you had Chile, I believe, had some. And of course, probably the most famous user would be the West German, but not the Bundeswehr, but the Bundesgrenz, the BGS, the Border Guard, had some. But again, not a huge user. And of course, Cuba, their guns had them. Probably most consistently. It seems like everyone else, when they used this style of flash hider, it was more of a transitional. They would go from the lugged barrel to the Type C that most of us are familiar with. Of course, this takes its own bayonet too, modified Type A essentially. And you do see these flash hiders on Belgian imported FAL semi-autos in the 70s and early 80s too, before they went to the Type C. These are also known for doing the whole banana thing, at least for those pre-banned guns, so much so that FN actually offered a replacement to go to the Type C flash hider. So I don't know if it was just a bad batch or whatever. And now that DS Arms is putting these out, it'll be interesting to see if people shoot them enough that they might turn into a banana on them, or if maybe that's been resolved. Seems like a nice piece though, and it does have the key on the top. But no, I'm quite pleased with this. Really, I am. There's a couple of things, if they come my way, I might add to it, but you know, I'm gonna say it's more or less a done deal, you know, a done project. But yeah, let me know what you think of these kind of transitional style guns from the early A's and Israelis to the much more prolific Type C's. And for more details and history, you can check out the original video. Pretty much said all I could say there. As far as I know, Type 1 receivers were the go-to. By the time the Type 2 came out, the Cuban contract was done. No, I'm really happy. I was kind of wanting something like this style, a T48, a Cuban, I mean, a C1 or C1A one would be amazing, but those are super rare in America and usually pieced together with this part and that part. Yeah, we keep on doing FAL stuff around here. And again, I'm actually happy that DS Arms put a better carry handle on. Now, if they can just put non-bipod cut handguards, even if they're still polymer, that's okay. But, I mean, they're making wood stock, so maybe some wood handguards too. This would look pretty sharp. Really would. Like I said, this one's just new out of the box. See how this trigger is? Yep, typical military FAL trigger. What can you do? But again, they are shipping with steel DSA mags, which is awesome as well. But with that said, guys, appreciate you hanging out, doing more FAL talk. Promised you this fall we would. Again, sorry for kind of the lighting, but, you know, needs must. If you could, as always, like, share, subscribe. Like to help us out, check out Patreon, and we'll probably just do a big FAL day at the cabin pretty soon. It seems like a good time. This is Misha. Catch you very soon next time.